Okay, we left off 232. We're speaking over here about the. I'd just like to go over to Mechaber again in the Ramah. Zion. Nitel Dado. We're speaking about the stem. You have the stem, which is what we call the pitum. You have the stem, and then you have the crown on top of the stem. There's like a bulge, a nodule on top of the stem. So the Mechaber says, Notel Dado, Vu Harosh HaKoten Sheshanto Bo Posel. So there's a machlokus. We had in Mishna Berura yesterday. Does it mean to say that the stem has to be actually torn out of the esrog? Doesn't mean it's broken across, broken off the top. Because when you pull it out, it's inevitable it's choser, because it's being pulled out from the core of the esrog. But if it's just like cut across the top, and the root remains in the esrog, Mechaber holds that's kosher. That's according, he cited, that's the Taz. That's the Taz's interpretation of the Mechaber. So not nitel dado means it has to be pulled out from the root, has to be pulled out. Cited the Mogen Avram that no, that even if it's cut off at the top, it's possible. But it means, but if there's a little bit protruding, it's kosher. Because as long as even the stem, and although the nodule or the majority is broken off, as long as something protrudes, that's sufficient that it remains kosher. Those, okay? And nobody argues with the Mogen Avram. Everybody agrees that if it protrudes slightly, according to the Mechaber, it's kosher. Goes just above the surface. Yeah, when you look at it, something. Yeah, we don't say ruba kukulo since the majority is not there. No, visually, no. Probably visually. When you lift it, you pick it up in front of you. Visually, you could see something protrude slightly. No, slight means you see, because what is the profile of the esrog? It has that stem. You see the stem. Doesn't say the whole stem has to be there. Okay? That's the Mechaber. Of course, there's no question. It's more hudder. It's definitely it's more hudder. Here we're talking about puzzle. It's invalidated. Hagovi ish machmirim in nitla shoshanto. The hainu masharon korin pitmo. But those who were ruled stringently, they invalidated that the hainu masharon korin pitmo betov lahachmir bokshe efshar. We hold that what? That if it's broken off, even the tip is broken off. The shank is there, it comes up. The stem, it's possible. And it's best to be mach mokshe efshar, if you can. Miu linyan dino, but on a halachic level, a lifsolem ke nitel hadad. But what is it truly invalidated? That's only if the stem is removed. What is that? What's the dad? It's the stem that the nodule sits on top of it, what we call the equivalent of the crown. Varosh nikro shoshanto. The top of the stem, that's called shoshanto. Means rose. V'kol ze davka shenitlo. What? Right, correct. Chol ze davka, that's only if it existed and it was removed. That's the whole discussion here. Avolam lo hoy lo dad mi olam. But if the esrog grew without a pitum, which David mentioned yesterday, kosher. It's valid. The majority of the esrogim that they have in their region, the esrogim that initially grew without a pitum. Right. It's less problematic. Let's see. No, that's Hidur. That's Hidur. I mean, according to the Ramah, even if the Shoshanto, if you have one with that the top or don't, of course that's preferable. You take the one that has, but let's say it's broken off. He says Mikar Adin, it's valid. It's Hidur. It's a Hidur issue. Okay. We'll see the Mishna Berura. There are those who invalidate it, even if that's broken off. It's invalidated, except we don't follow those opinions. Let's see the Mishna Berura. Zion. Nitel Dado, who ate shal rosh ho esrog. It's the stem that protrudes on top of the esrog. Mochod hadad v'tocho b'tocho, and the stem is embedded in the esrog itself. V'shashanta olav, and the crown is on top of that stem. Posul, why? To have like choser. Of course, it's considered choser. The esrog has been diminished, has been compromised. V'ini b'loshinitel adad mashba shenitel eitz af masha tokua b'toch esrog. Seems to be. It says nitel, it's been removed. When you say you remove something, that means it's removed from the root. That means it's not just, it's cut off on the top, but it's removed. V'nase sham k'moguma. And if you look at the top of the esrog, you'll see actually there's a hole there, because it was removed from its root. But if only what was removed was only what protrudes from the esrog, but the root remains inside, the Tas says it's kosher. According to the Mechaber, it's kosher. It's valid. It's not the ultimate hodder, but it's kosher. Aval yeshmin aposkim shemitzadel lahachmir afilo nitel rak malamal min esrog. But the poskim, there they assume a position to be machmir that even if the root is not removed, it's possible. Who's that? Lamed Gimel. Beisos Pirush Rabbeinu Hananel. Yeah. Okay. V'sovrim that even if the root hasn't been removed of the stem, but the stem is cut off at the top, it's called choser. But if the stem protrudes above the surface of the top of the esrog, kosher, even slightly. Kosher means slightly. Das Magen Avram dein lahachmir. Magen says you don't have to be machmir. Tas says it's kosher. But Mokum Shef said that, or Ramo says that factually it's kosher, as the Mechaber says. However, he says, but if you can have an esrog which has even the shoshanta on top of it, that has the crown on top of the stem, that you should use that. He says, what about if you have a choice? You have a beautiful esrog, the stem comes out, but the crown is broken off, has been broken off. And you have another esrog which has the shoshanta, but it's not such a beautiful looking esrog. You should take the one without the shoshanta. Because one is the actual, the esrog itself is the beauty. Here, the beauty is lacking the other esrog. He says, if that be the choice, you take the one without the shoshanta. He says, that's only if the top of the stem was broken off, which is the nodule. Yeah? What about it protrudes, but part of the shank of the shoshanta that held it up is broken off, which is not discussed by the Ramah, correct? No, the stem, right? No, which means part of it. No, until now we said that part of the stem is not a problem, right? Seems to be the Ramah agrees with the Mechaber, except it's preferable to have the shoshanta. Now we're talking about the shoshanta is broken off. So the stem is fully intact, right? What about if 3/4 of the stem is in place, a quarter broke off? What about that case? What, according to Ramos, seems to be it's not a problem. Okay? So now that's what he's discussing. If part of the stem broke off, although you have part of it there still, even that. You should be machmir. If you have an alternative, take the other one. Because those who are machmir, even there, they invalidate it. There is an opinion it's invalidated. So if you're able to have one where the stem is fully there, the full stem, it's better to use that one. No. It's not because we want to just cover all bases over here. There's a whole question if the stem is considered an essential part of the esrog. That's the whole discussion over here.
So my question is, if you have a perfect esrog without a stem, totally grew without a stem.
No problem.
And you have one that has a perfectly intact stem with a crown, very nice. They're equal. One with a stem, one without
Correct.
a stem.
You're right.
Kosher?
100% kosher, both of them.
Right.
I told you, but they're
So
all.
if you do that, take the one with the stem over the one
I
without.
mentioned, we'll see. Some say that because the true profile of an esrog has the what we call the pitum, the stem and the crown on top of it.
Right. So that's it. That's a hiddur over.
It's more hiddur. It's more hiddur.
It's more hiddur, even though they're both perfectly fine.
Yeah, but let's say one is more beautiful and the other one, everything equal. Then you take the one with the stem if you can, unless it's problematic. If let's say you have a track record, every year it becomes problematic, it breaks, then you play it safe. You take the one without the stem.
Is there a time some people just keep just with the pitum and others just consistently without a pitum, or you can vary it from year to year?
Year to year. Kosher kaven shkachi brioson derech idloson. Zeu derech idlon. It grew initially without the pitum. That is its what? That's its natural essence. Ein lechanosam shem chaserim o shein hodor. It shouldn't be classified as it's diminished or it's lacking. V'nikorim hein. Kish mokum pitmo kmo guma betchilas brioso. Because Bikuri Yaakov. Now he's saying something interesting. So we're saying that if it grows naturally without the pitum, it's not a problem. He says he's explaining it right now. Right now. Because if you go to if it's broken off, if you see something black on top, which is the root of the stem, that then you know it had a pitum. You look at the top of it. Otherwise, it's not black. It's just grown in over there. It's grown. That's what he points out now. That if it doesn't grow with a pitum, it will not have a deep hole on top. You'll have an indentation, slight indentation, but you'll not have a hole. So now the Bikuri Yaakov says, what about if it grew naturally, but you have a deep hole on top? And you see clearly, it's natural, it's smooth, right? Right? He quotes the Bikuri Yaakov. There's a dafke sheish guma ma'at shein kam psul rak mishum choser. The whole discussion is, if you have the hole, it's choser because it's inevitable when you pull out that, you're tearing out part of the flesh of the esrog when you pull it out. He says, "V'keim tchilas brioso hu kein lo nesa b'meno klal lo mikro aval lefomi yesh guma amuka shechalola at chadrei azera." Sometimes it's an abnormality where it's so deep it goes until the location of the seeds. We have the sackets of juice with the seeds. V'nikra idei sheyachnes toch hacholo machat oshad dover dak. Posel gomru sherei why nekev betolot the posel kol hechad nikev posel. He says if it's that deep, it's clear when it grew on the tree it was damaged, and then somehow it healed. But it's at best it's like the equivalent of a scab, right? If you have a perforated lung, we discussed, although you have mucus sealing it, which is equivalent to a plug, the animal's a treifa. That's not called healing. So if it's that deep, it's clear that when it was on the tree, it was damaged, and it was pierced, and somehow it corrected itself. But that correction is not sufficient. Since it was perforated to the location where you had the seeds, even though it was initially it happened while it was growing, it doesn't make a difference. So if it's a slight indentation, or even more than slight, it's not a problem if it grew naturally this way. But if it's deeper than that, that indicates that it actually was perforated when it was growing, and it's a serious perforation. As a result of that, although it corrected itself through its growth, it's considered a diminished esrog. No, he's saying it grew with a pitum, grew without a pitum. According to the Mishna Berura says either one, it's the same. They're both the same. I just think there are others who say, I think maybe, I'm not sure, I think maybe the Chazon Ish, that it's better to take with the pitum than without the pitum.
Even though the profile can be without a victim as well.
Yeah, but what's the normal profile? You know? I'll give you an example. The average person grows to a certain height. Other person grows 3 inches shorter. They're both fully functional, intact human beings. But this person is 3 inches shorter than the average person. Right? You don't see it as a defect. When you look at a person, what is normal growth? Normal height is the height which most people grow to. The same thing. If the average esrog has a pitum, this one doesn't. It's valid. It's still within the classification of esrog. But what an esrog usually looks like, it doesn't look like it's not the usual esrog. The average person is of a certain height. This person is considered a short person. Is it it's not a handicap, or he's not handicapped, but he's a shorter person. Right.